keep the momentum, keep pushing forward. It will get better. Every single bad month we have, we are 1 month closer to whenever this thing does turn around.
Good morning, and welcome to another Motivational Monday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President here at LPT Realty. I'm joined by Robert Palmer, Founder and CEO. We are joining you from LPT headquarters here in Lake Mary, Florida. How are you, man? I'm excited to be with you today and this week. We've got a fantastic week planned.
Yeah, dude, it's like there's always something exciting going on at LPT Realty. I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. We are fighting through the tough market. We were talking about this. Our industry as a whole has really lost its mojo.
Yeah.
It has. There's groups like us that are holding it together and crushing it. But when you really look at the industry as a whole, I meet a lot of agents at other brokerages, other companies, even other countries now. And this industry has lost its mojo a little bit, and we got to get it back.
Yeah.
And so hopefully with the new posture from the Fed that we got out of Jackson Hole last week that we're going to talk about on the show today, maybe it's going to help us get our mojo back.
Yeah.
But we need the mojo back, man. We need
well, you got to think.
It's tough to be the only company in the entire industry with any mojo right now.
The shining light. No, I mean, you got to think about it, right? Last year was tough. You have interest rates that are the highest that most people purchasing and transacting in real estate have seen. And then you've got the whole, NAR settlement and all of that. That was tough. And so it really kind of put a damper, I guess you could say, on the industry. And, people's businesses are suffering right now with, sub 4 million sales. And so, there's a lot of things that are adding to that. But to your point, we're going to bring that excitement. We're going to help you understand how you should interpret this data. We're going to get into that a little bit. And then really, what does it look like? If the market starts to change, what do you need to be doing to prepare for that, right? And that goes back to what you always say, prepare for the boom and the bust, and prepare for the bust and the boom. We had certainly understand we are in the bust. At some point, we will have to prepare for the boom. So with that being said, I guess I'll kind of turn it over to you to help us understand, what was impactful from Fed Powell.
The initial reaction was a lot of cheering, right? Like, hey, we're there. The Fed is pivoting, which most people did not think was going to happen, right? Like, we really got to take a step back, and I'm going to go deep here for a little bit on this whole interest rate situation, because it is, at the surface, we look like one thing is happening, but if you peel back a couple of layers, it's actually a much more complex situation, I think, than most headlines give it credit for. And so we've had this situation where Powell was really viewed as digging in against the idea of cutting rates. And, a lot of headlines about what was motivating that, why were those decisions being made. But for the most part, the market believed that he was not going to entertain cuts. And so it's interesting, everyone it's like the dog that catches the car. I don't know, for whatever reason, I love this analogy, right? Like, a dog is chasing a car.
Yeah.
What's the dog going to do if it catches the car?
Right.
And so it's like all these people have been railing for Powell to start cutting rates, which is the dog chasing the car.
Right.
And now the car stopped. Like, Powell said, all right, I'm open to this. And now, now what do you do with it?
Right.
And so now the problem is, and we're already seeing these new opinion pieces come out. And, I've got this thing called a Bloomberg terminal, which is where I get all of my bond trading and financial data, really more driven by the mortgage side. If I was just a real estate CEO, I don't think I would have a Bloomberg terminal. But because of all the bond trading and the stuff we do on the mortgage side with securities and everything, I have this Bloomberg terminal. And so it sources news and data faster than what kind of hits the mainstream. And so what I can tell you is there is now this overwhelming current already brewing in response to this new posture of cutting rates that is saying, when the Fed cuts in September, if they cut in September, long-term rates, which are what we actually care about, may get worse. Because people are back to this idea of the Fed cut may be premature. And so again, this is where this is really heady and really complex. But basically, the Fed is setting the overnight rate. They're setting the rate that banks borrow at for short term. And then that turns into prime rate, which is what a lot of HELOCs and floating debt are tied to. But the Fed doesn't actually set long-term mortgage rates.
Okay.
Now, usually, if now money is cheaper, long-term rates will be cheaper as well, because the idea is, hey, I'm a bond investor. The average mortgage sticks around for 7 years. And so if the front end of that 7 years, when the balance is the highest and the most people have it, if rates are going to be very low on the short-term borrowing basis, I'm willing to take some long-term risk. The one exception to that is inflation. If I'm a bond investor and I invest money at a fixed return for 7 years, and inflation sparks up, which erodes the value of my money over time, I lose. And so the only thing that bond investors are more afraid of than high Fed rates is high inflation. And so the fear is if the Fed cuts too soon and that sparks inflation, or even the fear of inflation, then mortgage rates will actually get worse. And I know that is counter to what everyone's been talking about. A lot of it, I think, was anchored in the idea of, with as obstinate as Powell has been, like, I mean, this dude is not like, I'm not bending for anybody. I mean, he just sit there and take it. But like, he's like, I am not changing no matter what you say, what you accuse, he just was like, I'm a rock, I'm an immovable object.
Yes.
And so nobody thought he would move too soon. So that like wasn't even in the playbook. And now all of a sudden people are thinking, is he about to move too soon? Because if he does move too soon and it causes an inflation increase, then we will have a real problem.
Yep.
And so this is now the new narrative. And so, but again, this isn't going to hit headlines that consumers are seeing or like the casual financial analyst is going to see for a while. But this is what's percolating in like the Bloomberg back rooms of financial talk. And so that's what I'm sharing with you guys, because I want you to be ahead of the curve and on the cutting edge. But there is a fear. And really what I think, so there's a couple of big data points. Jobs report's going to come out first Friday of next month. Is that, that's not this Friday, that's next Friday, yeah. So not Friday, but the Friday after, we're going to get a jobs report. That's going to be highly scrutinized. A couple of inflation readings, and then we're going to get the Fed response. Now, the traders are baking in the Fed cut. So there's this other like, it's amazing how similar Wall Street is just like gambling, like prop bets, right? So if you gamble, like all this idea of like prop bets. So they're the equivalent of prop bets where traders bet on whether or not they think the Fed is going to cut rates at the next meeting. And so again, like I can see this, like I don't know that most, like your E-Trade account probably doesn't show you that, but like inside the Bloomberg terminal, we can see these like prop bets on how many traders are betting that the Fed is going to cut rates in September. And that's a lot. And so that number has gone up dramatically. On the flip side, though, people are not thinking interest rates are going to come down in September. So the overall sentiment inside of these walls is that the Fed is going to cut in September, and the market is going to view that as too early, and we might actually see a little bit worse of interest rates. And so the 10-year Treasury initially reacted very positively to the Fed speech, but then as all this new narrative started to kind of hit out there, we saw a sell-off, and we saw the 10-year come about halfway back down to where it was, halfway down on price, halfway up on yield. They move inversely. I know I got super heady this morning, but I feel like this is one of those things where it is very complex. We all need to be aware of it, because I don't want anyone to think that was a silver bullet, because it was not. Like this is not the cure. Like this may be the cure. It may be a problem. We don't know yet. So we are still uncertain. I think I started using the uncertainty. What was it, like January? I mean, am I 8 months into talking about uncertainty? First of all, I cannot believe this year has gone by. I cannot believe we are almost in September, right? Reagan is a September baby. I'm about to have an 8-year-old at home.
That's crazy.
I feel like just yesterday was January of this year. I mean, this year has just flown by.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like I've been saying this same uncertainty thing for 8 months now. And like I thought we would have changed the story by now. I thought something would have come into focus. It is not. Like we are still the word of the day when it comes to rates, the future of real estate transaction count, uncertainty.
So let's say there's something that happens that gives us a little more clarity. I think that most people think that 2026 is going to be different than 2025. Maybe it's not, but let's just say that it stands true. What then should we be doing as we are preparing for whatever that change will be? Like if, let's say things start to normalize, interest rates come down and, inventory increases, transaction, we start to balance back out.
If mortgage rates come down dramatically, we are going to see this massive acceleration in transaction count. Like I've said this publicly, I will say it again. We're going to see the largest momentum increase in transaction count that I think we've ever seen. Right now, I'm not saying we're going to get to the highest number of home sales ever. I'm going to say we're going to see the fastest shift from where we are to where, because we're down here at 4 million. So if you go back to the pandemic, we came into the pandemic in the mid fives, and then we went up to almost 7. Now we're all the way down at 4. If we get to 6, that is a bigger momentum shift than what we saw during the pandemic. So I'm not predicting we will have more home sales than we did during the pandemic, but what I am saying is the velocity of the shift, because we're coming from a lower starting point, will be more dramatic than what we saw during the pandemic. So that's if rates drop. Even if rates don't drop, next year I believe is going to be better than this year because consumers are running out of runway.
Right.
They have waited as long as they can. They have pushed off the decision. We talk about this a lot. The consumer is running out of runway to keep delaying the choice to buy or sell, move. The pain is getting worse. The whatever is happening in their life, the divorce they're delaying. They maybe even still living with a divorced spouse.
That's a tough life.
Still owning a house with a divorced spouse, right? These are real things like happening, or like took a job in a new part of town and having to commute 3 times as far because you can't move across town. Like all of these are real dynamics. So I believe that next year, April, May, June, will be better than this year.
Okay.
I think that's a lock. Even if we get our worst case scenario around rates, maybe not the worst case, but if we don't get the positive movement we want, I think that's a lock. So we do need to be preparing for that. Then there's this other chance that somewhere in the year next year, I think it may be a little later. I think it may be Q3, Q4, we will see the release of all the pent-up demand. The spring will finally uncoil. We're going to see a little bit of a rebound just from, again, without the spring recoiling, just from the consumer dynamics. But the rates coming down will be the spring uncoiling. And that's mortgage rates, not Fed rates, right? Like, yes, the two normally move together, not always, but we need mortgage rates to come down. And so I think that will happen sometime next year. But I'm not as bullish as other folks. I think we're going to have a good Q2. A good spring buying season. We need to be focused right now. This is the time of year where we have to do the hard work. We need to be out emptying our prospecting packs, getting our 7 home buyer strategies and home buyer workbooks into people's hands so they call us next year when the spring buying season hits. We need to be talking to sellers with our 9 critical questions and our active marketing plan to have them ready. If you're an LPT Plus, you want to be using those cash offer power packs linked up with Zoodealio to get folks thinking that way, because when the runway ends, they're going to call someone.
That's right.
And most likely, and I can tell you this from experience, they're going to call the person whose high quality printed collateral is sitting in their kitchen or on their end table or wherever they put it, more likely than calling the person who they got an email from or saw a digital ad for 6 months ago. So that's an important part of what we're doing to be ready, and that is coming one way or another. Like we all have to double down and be ready for an increase next year. And then there's the chance of the explosion next year. But they got to get it right on interest rates. And I am not sure that we're there yet. I'm not in the camp that says all our problems are solved. Powell is shifting dovish. And so dovish means more likely to cut rates. So there's kind of 2 postures inside of the Fed. These are trader terms. Hawkish means they are leaning more, hey, we think we should keep rates high. We may even raise rates. And dovish means they're going to potentially lower rates. And so we went from what they call a hawkish posture of keep rates the same or raise rates to now a dovish posture of lowering rates. But if they got dovish too soon, it will actually hurt us in the mortgage world.
Okay, so let's do a quick, we have these 3 certifications. They are designed to help you make the most of this shift that you described, which could be probably the largest that we've seen.
The conference starts on Wednesday, October 15th. Registration 2 to 4. We're going to do a welcome session 4 to 8. And just, again, that's going to be kind of moving in and out during the welcome session, get situated. Really, session wasn't the right word. More of like conference welcome, I think, is how I wanted that listed, because it's not actually a session. Then Thursday morning, we kick it off. Registration again, first breakout at 9 a.m. We get into that certification part 1 with lunch, which will go 10 to 2. We're going to go deep there. I'm going to have a lot of special guests joining me, helping with the certifications, getting into our 3 topics, AI, price point step up, and in-person influencer. We're going to have breakouts 2 and 3. Then we're going to do networking and vendor meetings. Then we're going to have our VIP ticket dinner for those of you who step up and buy the VIP ticket, hanging out with me for VIP dinner. Then Friday, State of the Brokerage with me on 9 a.m. Then we're getting into networking and vendor meetings, another breakout, certification part 2, and then certification part 3 is Saturday morning, and then we're going to get you guys out of there. We're doing brunch with certification part 3, dinner with certification part 2, lunch with certification part 1. All the other meals you're on your own, but those we are taking care of as a part of your ticket. And again, we're basically going to cover a piece of all 3 certifications at all 3 parts. So it's not like one is one topic, 2 is a different. There's going to be a piece of each along the way. So inside of LPT, there are a couple of optional monthly subscriptions, right? We don't have a mandatory monthly fee like most of the other brokerages out there, but we do have the optional subscription plans, which is LPT Plus for solo agents and Team Growth Plus for team leaders. And we're about to expand that to aspiring team leaders as well. And so we're having our Team Growth Plus Mastermind. We're calling it Team Growth Oceanside down at Sailfish Point. A lot of focus on growth. Really, the big message right now for our team leaders is because of how long this down market has drawn out, a lot of solo agents are considering the move to team more than ever. You know, a lot of agents who maybe were doing 4 or 5 deals a year during the better market, and now in this current market, they're doing maybe 1 deal, 2 deals. Some folks are doing 0 deals. And so this need to join a team and get the extra resources, the leads, that extra help, in addition to all the things we already do at LPT, is becoming more and more attractive for some folks. So we're really focusing on how team leaders can grow right now, how they can focus on those relationships and helping other agents. And you know, for us, that's a win, because if we can take an agent who maybe is struggling on their own and help them link up with a team that can help them grow, we all win in that scenario. So that's a big focus of Team Growth Oceanside, which is happening this week down at Sailfish Point. But yeah, man, it's and then Real Estate First Friday. Make sure if you're not tuning into Real Estate First Friday, you should be there. Listing Power Tools Day, which, by the way, what are we only? We're about 2-3 weeks into
3 weeks.
3 weeks into Listing Power Tools Day. If you're not plugging in on Tuesdays to what I'm referring to as Listing Power Tools Day, my little play on Tuesday. Listing Power Tools Day, where every week Christina is unpacking something in Listing Power Tools, one of our amazing products, digital, print, mail, all of the stuff that we've been building and perfecting. Listing Power Tools Days every Tuesday. So that's new. Getting a lot of great feedback from agents that are plugging in there. I think sometimes it's just good to keep this stuff top of mind.
It is, man.
I think sometimes we know what works. We have to be reminded sometimes because it's human nature, and because it's not working immediately, it may feel like it's not working, but it is. It's just the result is more delayed than ever right now because of the state of the market. But Listing Power Tools Days on Tuesdays, that's just, it's great, man. There's so many ways to plug in. We've had a handful of AIU events here at the Ascend Initiative University in Lake Mary. The fall conference in October is going to be at a hotel. There's that big block for networking where people can have their poolside margaritas, because that's the one thing we don't do here at the AIU events is there's no poolside margaritas. And again, while to me that's not the focus of the conference, like I think our conference is going to be education focused. It's about these certifications. It's about setting you up for the boom. It's not a big party, you know, and I know maybe some people want that. That's not really our vibe here. That's not our ethos. Like, we're going to have a good time. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have fellowship and camaraderie, but the focus is education. The focus is on becoming better at our craft. The focus is on honing our skills. And I think somewhere in there, like, there was this real estate brokerage hype bubble that happened, and it was like, oh, agents are going to join the brokerage with the best party, and which causes a lot of problems. Like, culturally, it's just not how I think about our business. And so, you know, we are very focused on, at our conference, how do we bring value to your business?
That's right.
You know, again, we're having a general session with dinner till 8 o'clock at night to focus on certifications instead of a, you know, I don't know, a party with, you know, shots and whatever else. Like, it's just not who we are. And so I think it's really important that we get back down to, while we want to have a good time together, we want to network, we want to build camaraderie, we are here to sell real estate. We are real estate first. We're not recruiting first. We're not party together first. We are real estate first. And that ethos drives right into what we're doing as our conferences. It drives into what we're doing here at Ascend Initiative University. We want to be the best partner for you to build that real estate business, to focus on that real estate first commitment. And that's really what FallCon is all about. And I want to be super transparent about that, because I don't want anybody buying a ticket and coming down to Orlando for FallCon because they think it's going to be, you know, some intergalactic kegger, to steal a line from Men in Black like 20 years ago. We're going to help you set up to win. We're going to put you in position with the knowledge and the tools and the systems that you need to be ready for the next market rebound. But we're not hosting an intergalactic kegger. And that is a quote from the movie Men in Black. Do you remember that? Or
of course I do.
Yeah, and we're not hosting an intergalactic kegger.
Yes.
I don't know. That is my summation of what Fall Con is not.
Yes, all right, fantastic. One thing that I would like to say is that I'd probably say the first 40, 50 houses that I sold in my career, I didn't understand the things that I understand now. I didn't understand the relationship between the 10-year and how that moves interest rates and how to predict those things. And as my career has grown and I've had different conversations, and maybe I'm talking to a developer who's like, hey, what is the absorption rate over the next 18 months for these 400 keys we're about to give you? Knowing these things and being able to model these things out have been really impactful. And so I would just say, if you don't think it's important, I would really ask you to think about it differently. You don't have to be an expert at it, but you really should understand these market dynamics. And to your point, really educate yourself on these things, how to prepare for the next cycle, because it's a cycle business, right? It's gonna repeat itself. Every year we have mini repeats. Every 10 years we have something different. So you have to be prepared for those things. And the quicker you get into that rhythm, the quicker you can understand and position your business for it, the better you're gonna do every single time that momentum changes or there's a shift in the market.
Remember, these are 3 certifications we're going to sell next year through AIU for $2,500 a piece, and you get them at FallCon as a part of your $1,099 ticket, or you can put them onto your next pay at closing, because I'm putting another $250,000 up to fund more pay at closing tickets. Because again, I really want everybody who wants to be a part of this to be able to take advantage of it, because that's how we win together. We win together by everyone being prepared for this next boom that is coming. Other than that, keep doing what you do. Keep proudly representing LPT out there. Keep the mojo and the momentum that we have right now in your business. And I know it's tough. I know, again, the less home sales rebounded, the spring and summer buying seasons being terrible were not anything anyone expected this year. Keep the momentum, keep pushing forward. It will get better. Every single bad month we have, we are 1 month closer to whenever this thing does turn around. And on the other side, if you're crushing it right now, celebrate. Because most statistically, most agents are not crushing it right now. We have a disproportionate number that are crushing it over here with us, which I love to see. But if you're not crushing it right now, stay the course. It will turn. Keep doing the hard work. Keep doing the things. If you are crushing it, be proud. And think about how you lean into that. How do you take the success you're finding in today's market and parlay that into a team, into expanding your solo business, whatever that is. If you are finding yourself ready to prepare for that next boom, lean in and get ready. I'll see a lot of you here in 30 minutes at noon. Otherwise, we'll catch you next Monday, right back here on Motivation Monday. Make it a great week.
Fantastic.